Imagine starting each day with the same routine, silencing your alarm, begrudgingly leaving your bed, forcing down a meal, and then plunging headfirst into a life that feels merely borrowed, not genuinely lived, just executed. Consider this. We dedicate over a decade to education, striving to meet an external measure of success. We are instructed on what to think, rather than how to think. Subsequently, we enter a job market that judges our worth based on our productivity, compliance, and lack of complaint. We earn just enough to cover expenses, never enough to achieve genuine liberation. We scroll through fleeting distractions, oblivious to the gradual erosion of our enthusiasm and inquisitiveness. We start mistaking mere survival for actual living. This video serves not merely as a contemplation, but as a vital call to awareness, a reflective surface, and a guide. The insights you are about to encounter possess the power to fundamentally alter your perception of the societal structure we are born into, and guide you toward potentially transcending it. And indeed, the ultimate revelation holds the most profound impact, a realization seldom attained, yet for those who do, life is irreversibly transformed. Before we delve deeper, please consider supporting this channel. Subscribe if you are drawn to content that explores beyond superficial understanding. Give this video a like if it resonates with that quiet part of you yearning to be heard. Share it with someone who might benefit from this insight. And leave a comment. Are you truly living or merely surviving? Let's now uncover the layers of this seemingly hidden mechanism. What defines this endless cycle of modern existence? How did we all become ensnared within it? It commences with a promise, whispered to us from childhood. Work diligently, adhere to the rules, and follow instructions, and you will achieve a good life. But what constitutes good? For whom? By whose criteria? Somewhere along the path, a good life became equated with repetition, predictability, and accumulation, devoid of truth, liberty, or inner tranquility. Sociologist Max Weber characterized contemporary society as an iron cage of rationalization. We structure our existence around efficiency, bureaucracy, and economic value. What once endowed life with significance, art, philosophy, spiritual introspection, is now frequently perceived as non-essential, a luxury rather than a fundamental need. Modern education plays a crucial role. As John Taylor Gatto contended, schooling has shifted from fostering intellectual growth to producing compliant laborers. We are conditioned to follow schedules, defer to authority, and absorb information without questioning its origin. Creativity is suppressed. Independent thought is discouraged. By the time we reach adulthood, many of us are taught to fear uncertainty more than mediocrity. Then comes the professional world, a meticulously organized environment where time is exchanged for money, often performing tasks devoid of deeper meaning. The average individual commits over 1/3 of their life to work, yet studies indicate that more than 80% feel disconnected from their occupations. What does this reveal? It suggests we are sacrificing the most vital aspects of our lives to uphold a system that barely acknowledges our humanity. The philosopher Erich Fromm discussed two modes of existence, having and being. The modern world prioritizes having, possessions, titles, status symbols, while neglecting the essence of being, presence, self-awareness, connection. We are so preoccupied with acquiring that we forget to inquire who we are without the roles we play. But here lies the paradox. Even when we achieve success by societal metrics, a good job, a house, a car, we often experience a sense of emptiness, as if something is missing. This is because the ceaseless cycle doesn't conclude when you reach a milestone. It merely accelerates. More duties, higher expenses, increased apprehension. The illusion of advancement without genuine personal growth. Pause for a moment now. Reflect. When was the last time you felt genuinely liberated? Not during a holiday, not over a weekend, but in your daily existence. When did you last pursue your curiosity without a hidden agenda? When did you last sit in stillness and listen, not to external commotion, but to the quiet voice within? The system was not designed to assist you in discovering these answers. It was constructed to divert you from even posing the questions. The psychologist Carl Jung believed that people frequently avoid confronting the profound truths of their lives because it would disrupt their self-identity. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul, he stated. But what transpires when we finally do? When we recognize that the rat race isn't life itself, but a deviation from it. This awakening, however, is not comfortable. It demands courage. It necessitates perceiving the confines of the cage, not as protection, but as a restriction. It requires us to unlearn before we can truly learn. And that is why most individuals remain within the wheel. Because outside, there are no certainties, only the raw, beautiful unpredictability of freedom. But what if the initial step toward liberation wasn't revolutionary? What if it was as straightforward as simple awareness? Just recognizing the established patterns, identifying the unspoken scripts you've been following, and then questioning them, not with defiance, but with genuine inquisitiveness. What drives my daily actions? Am I living my own life, or someone else's ideal for me? What if true success wasn't measured by earnings, but by aligning with your authentic self? We'll delve deeper into this concept shortly. We'll examine how contemporary society perpetuates this endless cycle, how subtle influences keep us stuck in place, and how you can start to dismantle these illusions. And remember, the insight we uncover at the conclusion might just be the most pivotal idea you encounter today, one that reshapes not just your direction, but your entire purpose. Each day, we partake in a grand illusion, so pervasive and normalized that it's rarely questioned. We're conditioned to hustle, chase, and relentlessly strive. But to what end, and at what cost? We must grasp that this system, this ceaseless treadmill, was not designed for your personal fulfillment. Its primary goal is self-preservation, and to achieve that, it relies on your participation, your attention, your energy, and your quiet submission. The late philosopher Michel Foucault extensively explored the subtle ways power operates within society. He posited that modern control isn't always exerted through explicit force, but through unseen structures, norms, expectations, and societal scripts. You're not commanded to run on this wheel. You're subtly encouraged to. This distinction is vital because when we believe we're making a choice, we're far less inclined to resist. So consider, who benefits when you equate your self-worth with productivity? Who profits when your self-esteem hinges on your job title, income, or public image? Advertising, social media, and even academic institutions subtly convey a consistent message. You're not quite enough yet. But perhaps, just perhaps, if you acquire more, achieve more, and prove more, then you'll finally be significant, finally complete. This isn't motivation. It's manipulation disguised as ambition. Observe how culture glorifies exhaustion. Being busy has become a mark of distinction. If you're not hustling, grinding, and working late, it's implied something is amiss with you. You're not doing enough. Yet, the glorification of busyness is, in truth, a snare. It keeps you moving but accomplishes nothing. As author Brené Brown noted, we are the most in-debt, obese, addicted, and medicated adult cohort in U.S. history. This isn't due to weakness, but because we're weary, desensitized, and burnt out from a game where no one truly wins. When burnout strikes, the system offers not remedies, but distractions. A new series, a new product, a quick dopamine hit to numb the hollow ache of meaninglessness. This is the engine of consumer capitalism, keeping the populace toiling, consuming, and numbing, never pausing long enough to question the underlying reasons. However, if we dare to pause, even briefly, clarity emerges. We start to recognize how our identities have been sculpted not from within, but by external forces. Our desires weren't organically formed, they were marketed to us. Our priorities weren't chosen, they were inherited. Our definition of success wasn't our own, it was prescribed. This is the genesis of transformation. The initial step is deconstruction. This doesn't imply forsaking all responsibilities or rejecting society outright. It means disentangling your intrinsic truth from the tangled web of external pressures. It means asking, which deeply held beliefs have I absorbed that aren't genuinely mine? Perhaps it's the conviction that working 60 hours a week is virtuous, that rest is idleness, that financial prosperity is the ultimate validation of your worth, or that constant performance for others is essential for acceptance. These are not universal truths. They are cultural programs. And like any program, they can be rescripted. In his book Walden, Henry David Thoreau observed, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." Written in the 19th century, this statement resonates even more profoundly today. But why quiet desperation? Because overt desperation draws attention and elicits aid. Quiet desperation, however, simmers beneath the surface, blending in. It offers polite smiles, arrives at work punctually, and pays its bills, all while something profound inside withers. But here is the revolutionary idea. You were not brought into existence merely to sustain a mechanism. You were born to flourish, to experience, to evolve. And that demands a distinct rhythm, a different truth. As you begin to awaken to this understanding, a natural conflict arises. A part of you still trusts the system. It's familiar and predictable. Another part starts to question, to yearn, to seek something authentic. This inner tension marks the beginning of your emancipation. Yet, be forewarned. The moment you step off the treadwheel, the world may push back. Friends, family, colleagues might not grasp it. Why aren't you participating in the game? Why are you asking so many questions? Why are you diverging from the script? This isn't because they oppose you. It's because your awakening threatens the comfort of their unconsciousness. When you achieve freedom, it reminds others of their own constraints. However, an unlived life, one that is not genuinely your own, presents a far greater peril. A silent yet potent movement of individuals is emerging, choosing to disengage from the relentless cycle. They are redefining achievement not as accumulation, but as harmony, not as excess, but as sufficiency. Their pursuit is centered on fulfilling work, genuine connections, and lives grounded in presence rather than outward show. Many of these individuals are contemplating questions such as, what constitutes a truly meaningful existence for me? Beyond what I've been instructed to value, what do I genuinely hold dear? How can I construct a life that supports my humanity, not merely my output? These inquiries, while challenging, are fundamental, and the very act of asking them represents a profound assertion of freedom. The wheel continues turning only if you persistently run on it. What occurs when you cease motion? When you step aside and consciously choose your own rhythm, your own objective. In the subsequent section, we will delve into the practical initiation of this process. We will investigate subtle yet potent methods to regain command over your time, your principles, and your focus. Our aim is to forge a trajectory that moves beyond the mundane grind, towards a life that undeniably and deeply resonates as your own. Bear in mind, the ultimate insight awaiting you at this journey's end could be the single most transformative revelation you will ever encounter. A truth that, once recognized, cannot be disregarded. So, what does it truly signify to exit the rat race? Does it entail abandoning your career, relocating to the mountains, forsaking all material comforts, and living off the grid? Not necessarily. Escaping this cycle isn't about physical relocation. It's about mental liberation. It's about reasserting authority over your most invaluable asset, your attention. In his work, Deep Work, Cal Newport illustrates how our contemporary focus is perpetually fractured. Notifications, emails, and endless digital scrolling leave us intellectually fragmented and emotionally depleted. Why is this significant? Because the direction of your attention dictates the trajectory of your life. If your attention is hijacked, so too is your destiny. The system doesn't need to physically restrain you. It merely needs to monopolize your thoughts. If you are consistently distracted, consuming, and comparing, you will never possess the clarity to question your current path. You will be perpetually engrossed in the pursuit of the next fleeting thing. However, self-awareness is a quiet revolution. When you begin to observe your own behavioral patterns without judgment, but with simple presence, you start to reclaim your intrinsic power. You transition from reacting to consciously responding. Let's meticulously examine this. The initial practical measure is conscious self-auditing. Start by scrutinizing how you allocate your time and energy daily, not just in your schedule, but within your thoughts. Are your choices guided by inner resonance or by external pressures? For example, do you immediately reach for your phone upon waking? Why do you agree to social engagements you don't genuinely enjoy? Why do you remain in a job that drains you simply because it feels secure? What underlying fears are truly holding you captive? This type of introspection demands honesty, radical honesty, not for self-reproach, but for self-emancipation. The subsequent phase involves realigning your values. Once the extraneous noise, marketing ploys, and inherited expectations are stripped away, What remains? What do you authentically cherish? Perhaps it's creative expression, time spent in nature, spiritual development, or meaningful relationships. It might be simplicity, autonomy, or purpose. Whatever it is, your life should be structured around these core values. Because if it isn't, then whose life are you actually living? Psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, once remarked, "When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure." This is the loop many find themselves trapped in, an unending pursuit of dopamine hits to fill the void of definitive direction. Yet, meaning doesn't stem from amusement. It arises from alignment, from the knowledge that your way of living harmonizes with the person you are evolving into. This leads us to the next stage, intentional design. You don't have to dismantle your entire existence to induce change. Begin modestly. Wake up slightly earlier, not to complete more tasks, but to engage in silent contemplation. Journal, reflect, take a walk outdoors. Read something that stimulates your intellect instead of dulling it. By reclaiming your mornings, you commence the process of reclaiming your mind. Cultivate the ability to decline distractions, burdensome obligations, and individuals who divert you from your chosen path. Every refusal is simultaneously an affirmation of space, of sovereignty, of your authentic self. Start generating more than you consume. This is a crucial step. Whether it involves writing, constructing, designing, public speaking, or even gardening, creation serves as an antidote to a passive existence. When you create, you activate, you come alive. And do not undertake it for acclaim, for validation, or for performance. Do it because it nurtures something genuine within you, something that the system cannot commercialize. However, even as you implement these changes, comprehend this: there will be resistance, both internal and external. Your own mind might push back. You may hear that inner critique questions like, "Who do you believe you are?" Or, "This is unrealistic, just remain cautious." That internal voice is not your adversary. Your established patterns, rooted in past anxieties, are attempting to shield you. Acknowledge their presence, but do not yield to them. There's also external pushback to consider. Your social circle might not grasp your decisions. Colleagues could perceive you as having lost your competitive edge. Your family might express concern. Remember, individuals often judge what they lack the courage to truly comprehend. This is not a burden you are meant to bear. Your purpose isn't to be universally understood. Rather, you are here to inhabit your authentic truth. Psychology introduces the concept of an internal locus of control, signifying the conviction that your actions, not external conditions, shape your destiny. The rat race thrives when you believe the opposite, that you are helpless, trapped, and dependent. However, when you tap into that inherent inner power, everything transforms. You cease wondering what others might think and begin to ask what you instinctively know is right for you. This is true liberation, not the absence of obligations, but the embrace of intentional living and conscious choice. Stepping away from the relentless cycle doesn't mean abandoning all duties. It means deliberately selecting them, exchanging unconscious habits for a meaningful rhythm. The ancient Greek notion of eudaimonia encapsulates this perfectly. Often translated as flourishing, it describes a life lived in harmony with your highest self, cultivating virtue, wisdom, and profound meaning. It's not passive contentment, but active fulfillment. Envision a life where your work stimulates you instead of draining your energy, where your time is your own and your decisions genuinely reflect your deepest convictions. A life where you're not just surviving, but actively creating, exploring, and expanding. This isn't a fantasy, it's a genuine possibility. But it materializes only if you choose it, only if you halt the wheel long enough to notice the door that has always been there. In the concluding segment of this exploration, we will delve into the most profound truth, one capable of fundamentally altering your perception of yourself, the world, and your very purpose. It's a revelation that entirely overturns the established order. Take a moment now to let everything you've encountered thus far truly sink in. You've begun to see beyond the illusion. You've started to question the predetermined script you were handed. You've felt the tension between the life you were told to live and the life your soul yearns for. That unease is not a sign of failure. It is the prelude to transformation. Now it is time for the most powerful realization of all, the one I pledged would change everything. Here it is. You were never a rat. You were simply conditioned to believe you were. You were taught to chase the cheese on the wheel, to equate your worth with productivity, to mistake obedience for virtue, and to trade your deepest aspirations for fabricated desires. But this identity was superimposed upon you. It is not your authentic self. You are not merely a component in a machine. You are not your job title, your resume, or your performance. You are consciousness itself, alive, aware, capable of creation, choice, and evolution. This is not elaborate rhetoric. It is the bedrock of every philosophical, psychological, and spiritual tradition that has ever sought to free humanity from delusion. From Socrates to Jung, from Buddha to Krishnamurti, the message resonates across millennia. Know yourself, and you will know freedom. Yet, self-knowledge doesn't spring from textbooks. It doesn't originate from promotions or accolades. It arises from quiet contemplation, from presence, from daring to step off the wheel and pose the most audacious question of all. Who am I, truly? Not the version others perceive, not the persona you project, not the labels you carry, but the silent observer beneath the clamor, the stillness behind your thoughts, the essential being that existed before you were assigned a name, a grade, a role. Most people never encounter this true self, not because it's concealed, but because they are too preoccupied to seek it. The wheel is designed to keep you from noticing, to keep you perpetually spinning until the very end. But if you are still here, still listening, then something within you is already stirring. And now you face a choice. You can return to the wheel. It's familiar, offering a certain kind of comfort, predictable, safe, accepted. But it demands a price, your vitality. Or you can embark on the deliberate, courageous journey of rewriting your script, choosing purpose over pressure, presence over performance, and creation over consumption. This isn't about evading responsibility. It's about consciously choosing your responsibilities, directing them toward what genuinely matters to you, constructing a life of intentional design, not default. But be warned, awakening is not a destination. It's an ongoing practice, a way of perceiving, a steadfast commitment to truth, even when it proves inconvenient. Especially then. You will stumble. The momentum of the wheel will try to pull you back. That is perfectly acceptable. Every moment offers an opportunity to return to awareness, to pause, to breathe, to realign. You don't need to have all the answers. You simply need to remain awake. And the beautiful truth is this: the moment you begin to live authentically, you empower others to do the same. Your courage becomes infectious. As you embrace your true self, you transform into a guiding light. You come to understand that you were never isolated on this journey, and that others are also quietly, sometimes reluctantly, but hopefully seeking indications, reflections, and guidance. You merge with this collective. This is the mechanism by which we transform the world, not through slogans, demonstrations, or uprisings, but through heightened consciousness. It happens one individual, one moment of realization at a time, because the profound revolution originates internally. And here's an even more revolutionary concept. Even within the confines of this system, even on the rat wheel, you can start experiencing liberation. This isn't achieved by escaping it, but by perceiving its true nature, by no longer allowing it to define you. The modern mystic Eckhart Tolle once stated, "Peace isn't found by rearranging the external circumstances of your life, but by recognizing your authentic self at the deepest level. You are not the wheel. You are the serene observer watching it turn." So, what next? You begin now. Not by severing ties or making drastic changes, but by listening. Listening to what has remained silent for too long. Your intuition, your core values, your deepest aspirations. Start there. Perhaps you establish boundaries where previously there were none. Maybe you deliberately set aside sacred time for introspection. Perhaps you finally commit to that dream that persistently whispered to you. Whatever path you choose, pursue it with presence, with deliberate intent, and with the realization that your existence is not a race, but a manifestation of your awareness. Remember, achievement isn't the final destination. It's the harmony between your daily actions and your inner truth. You weren't placed here to be perpetually exhausted, to be compliant, or to merely endure someone else's blueprint. You are here to live fully, profoundly awake. So, I'll conclude with a question, a final prompt for contemplation. If today marked the dawn of your freedom, what would you approach differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let it be genuine. Let it be the genesis. And if this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from this perspective. We are co-creating something significant here. A space for authenticity, for reflection, for awakening. Not because we possess all the answers, but because we are courageous enough to confront the fundamental questions. You are not alone. You never were. And the wheel? It only spins if you permit it. Now, disembark. Thank you for your attention.